Hello everybody, this is Mong004 and welcome back to my channel, and today we will be doing a review discussion video about Enslaved Odyssey to the West. Now I originally played this game on PS3 back in the day, but I recently revisited it, so I want to actually have a small discussion about it. Now my review discussion videos are just simply my subjective opinion. It is not a suggestion of whether you should buy or not buy a game, or whether you should like or not like a game. It's just my subjective opinion, and that's it. In addition, I also don't do review scores, so that's just a heads up. However, if you do go on to like this video, please hit the like button, please subscribe, hit the bell to be notified the next time I publish a video, and hit me up in the comment section and let me know what you think and give me some constructive feedback. At the same time, while you're here, check out my other videos. I do make a variety of different gameplay videos, and that's because I do play a variety of different games. And if you could share this video, please share it on your socials. I'd greatly appreciate it. So let's get into Enslaved Odyssey to the West and see what I thought about it. Enslaved is a post-apocalyptic dystopian third-person action-adventure game that originally released on the PS3 and Xbox 360 back on October 5th, 2010. Now, I actually really like the story of this game, and right now we're going to go through it a little bit.
Welcome to Slave Ship 909, en route to Pyramid.
The story starts aboard a flying enslavement jail, or prison. Something like that. And an imprisoned man watches as a young lady frees herself from her cell. I don't know how she did it, but she does, and she starts messing around with a computer. Well, after messing around with the computer, the ship starts to malfunction, and things just aren't looking all that good for the ship's stability.
Structural integrity 30%.
Some explosions happened, and the imprisoned man's cell pod is knocked free. After a little bit of a struggle, he punches his way out of the cell pod, and now he's completely free. And that's a good thing, because we'll be playing as this character. However, he's not having the easiest time with all the explosions going on around him. Explosions that blow out the back of the ship, leaving him to hang on for his dear life. Dang, this guy's having it hard. After climbing back into the ship, he finds out about the escape pods.
A-graded slaves report to escape pods.
Escape pods.
Slaves rated B and below
Now you're talking.
await.
And then eventually makes his way forward until he runs into a battle mech, and he knows at this point he cannot fight this battle mech without his gear.
I can't fight this thing. Gotta get my weapons back.
In which case, he's gonna definitely need to find that stuff. And he does so by getting all up in this dude's grill.
Where's my stuff? What? The stuff. Where's my gear? The stuff you took away from me.
However, after this dude tries to aid him, this dude's brains gets grilled by the band around his head.
B58 is assisting escaping prisoner. Command. Terminate slave 6B58.
Relief!
Termination complete.
Yeah, that didn't go very well. So, yep, we still gotta get our stuff. Eventually, he comes upon his gear. Some red gloves that have some energy coming out of it. That's really neat. Along with a long staff so that he can start knocking some of these darn combat bots around. So now, he's ready to start whooping some hiney.
Okay. Let's deal with that mech.
He takes that mech on like he's having a darn good morning and whoops its freaking behind. Well, maybe not behind, but metal parts. You know what I mean. And then moves on and has to fight even more mechs, slapping them around and letting them know that this staff, it's a pretty good goddamn staff there, buddy. Then he has to move on and fight even more mechs.
Oh no, you gotta be kidding me!
Nope, buddy, I am definitely not kidding you. He makes his way outside the craft and notices the girl that he saw earlier.
Hey! Hey! Open the door! You mother...
She appears to be avoiding him and runs away, leaving him angry to be beating on the door. He gets some exercise by climbing on the outside of the ship, then runs across the wing and does a little bit of parkour, then meets up with some mechs. These darn pesky mechs, they always like to get in the darn way, but he's enjoying himself and kicking some butt, and really enjoying himself kicking some butt. He has to dodge some flames coming out of a burning engine, but considering that it's me playing him, I'm not all that good at doing that. However, he's not all that good either, because while trying to pry open a metal panel, the panel goes flying off into a burning engine, causing a bigger catastrophe than was already happening, leaving the entire craft to be leaning sideways, and now he has to climb the wing as the craft goes crashing into buildings. and has to make his way to the top before it crashes into another building. And to be absolutely honest, this kind of reminds me of like a scene from Uncharted. Just crazy. Eventually, he makes his way to one of the pods. However, the young lady he saw earlier is already in the pod and she's about to eject the pod. He notices she's about to do that and he tries to beg her not to, but the pod goes flying into the air, leaving the jail to crash into some buildings. As the pod flies, it flies in between some valleys and some buildings, and eventually crashes, leaving the man to go flying off and landing unconscious. He wakes up later, sees the young lady he saw earlier, and has a searing headache.
My head feels like it's ripped open.
It's the headband.
What?
The slave headband. The one I fit on you.
He tells her to take the thing off of his head or he's going to rip her head off. Of course, she doesn't think too kindly about that, and then this happens.
You think I'm screwing with you?
You! Come in, stop! It works. Come in, move away from me.
She eventually explains that she hacked the slave headband so that she can control it by her voice. He says he wants to kill her. She says he can't, because if he does, then he'll die too. If I die, you die. Yeah, that's just great. This guy's just having a wonderful day, isn't he? Then she starts to explain that she actually needs his help. Not that this is the kindest way about getting someone's help, but it actually works in this situation.
I come from a wind farmer community. It's about 300 miles from here. I'll never make it on my own. If slavers don't get me, Max will. That's the deal. Get me back to my home and you can go back to yours.
Looks like I don't have a choice.
And even though this is an arrangement that's not really all that easy for him to agree with, they eventually come to a mutual agreement, or should I say a harsh mutual agreement.
To get you home as fast as possible so that you can take this thing off my head and I can break your neck.
I meant...
Yeah, I know what you meant.
And so begins their adventure and odyssey to the west. And I have to say, one of the strongest points of this game is the adventure and all the things that they go through, the trials and tribulations they encounter, the dangers they have to survive, and really getting to know each other as they try to survive their way through some of the most ridiculous environments and even enemies that they have to defeat. And even the character that both of them have within themselves. By the way, these two characters actually have a name. Weird names, but they do have a name.
My name is Tripitaka, but I often get called Trip. I mean, pretty much always. People call me Trip.
Monkey. In the communities I trade with, some of them call me Monkey. If you want to give me a name, you can use that.
Okay. Monkey.
Yup, Tripitalia and Monkey. Trip and Monkey. Don't ask me, because I'm not the one who wrote their names, but that's their names. Now, when it comes to both of these characters, both of them are resourceful in their own way. Monkey is the more physically resourceful character. He's the one who does most of the fighting with his staff, running up to the battle mechs, knocking them around and taking them out, gritting his teeth, using his strength to swing around the environment, climbing from one thing to another, navigating the harsh terrain, and also doing most of the heavy lifting. I mean, literally heavy lifting. Like right here where he's lifting this car, and he almost gets freaking crushed by this darn car.
Looks like we have to head upwards.
Tripitalia, or Trip, is the more knowledge or analytical based resourceful one. She hacks into computers, gains more of the information about the environment, like the different enemies and the different enemy types and how to defeat them.
Trip, help me out here. What do I do?
Okay, I'm accessing its schematics. Stun it and get in close.
She even helps with distracting some of the enemies so that you can actually get past some of them.
There's the way out. But we'll never make it across that gap. There's no cover.
Maybe this time I can distract them? I might be able to create a decoy.
Distract it!
Okay, got it. Go!
Helps to go through doors that are particularly locked, so she uses her computer coding to get past them, and ultimately is the more intellectual, informal character.
Doesn't make any sense. They should be dead.
Makes perfect sense. The sunlight feeds the plants oxygenate the water, the small fish eat the algae, the big fish eat the small fish. It's a closed ecosystem.
There's even another character you meet later on in the game called Pigsy.
Trip? Is that you?
Pigsy! Pigsy!
And he's resourceful in his own right. Also, he's kind of funny in his own right, and also a bit of a problem in his own right. He's kind of a mixed bag.
Pigsy, what are you doing? Oh, Monkey, get him to stop! He's overloading the tower!
Too late.
Great.
Okay, let's not panic. We'll do it the old-fashioned way.
But he's still a pretty decent darn character, and I really like him. He's actually pretty funny. And adds a little bit of a little bit of comedy to some of the situation.
Ah, so that's your game, huh? Huh? The shoulder to cry on.
You're crazy.
Crazy like a fox.
No, like a pig!
Now, although I do actually like all three of these characters, and I like the way that they interact with each other and everything, I do have my concerns about Tripitalia's character, or Trip. Not that I don't think her character is great, but I do find some of her character questionable. One of my biggest problems with her character is this over sense of vulnerability that she has.
When I give you the signal, you get back, okay?
No, I
Hey!
can't.
Do as I say.
I know she's not the muscle in this situation. Obviously, Monkey's the muscle. He's the one that does all the fighting and all the heavy lifting and stuff like I said a second ago. But they make her appear far more vulnerable than I think makes sense, or that I think is actually necessary. This situation right here where Monkey actually has to help her get up to this ledge, I actually understand because the ledge is very high, so anybody would need help with that.
What about that ladder? If you lift me up, maybe I could drop it down for you.
However, this other situation really doesn't make any sense.
Throw me up to that window. I can make it to the top from there.
Are you kidding me? There is a box, 2 boxes just beneath that pole. She could climb onto that box and then after that jump right up to the pole without a problem at all. This just makes her look so helpless and it doesn't make any darn sense at all. There are times when you have to put her onto your back and carry her up ledges that she is more than capable of climbing herself, which to me it kind of makes the situation look kind of silly and stupid. There are times when Monkey actually has to throw Trip across the gap and she has to make it to the other side, and sometimes she's able to pull herself up without a problem. However, there are other times he throws her across the gap and for some reason you have to jump over there and save her.
Monkey, carry me, please!
Look, it's great to be a hero and all, but sometimes this game really needs to stop. Especially when you look into these other situations and scenarios where she clearly shows that she is a very capable and able-bodied person. Showing her kind of being like this just makes her look and sound unnecessarily vulnerable and unnecessarily weak.
This place is falling apart. Get me out of here.
So for the most part, I actually like Trip's character. I just think the whole she's vulnerable, she's weak, she's not a fighter. I just think that this game overdid it a bit too much at some points. Now I know some people might ask, what about the whole she's enslaving Monkey part of her character? I think the narrative actually resolves that pretty well later on in the story, so I don't have as much of a problem with that.
I used to play with dragonflies all the time as a kid. Didn't you?
No, I used to squash him.
On this adventure, Monkey and Trip are going to have to use a variety of different techniques to be able to outmaster all of the foes they'll have to defeat. One of the first things you'll actually get is, of course, the staff. Now, the staff has 2 main functions. Its first function is that it's a basic melee weapon. You can do your standard swinging and attack and knock the enemies back as much as you possibly can, and this move works most of the time, but there's some times that the enemies do guard themselves. And that's when you have the option to hold the melee button and do a charging attack, which will do things like break shields and really break their guard. There's also an attack you can do, which is a stronger swing by pressing the F key. You can also press another button depending on what peripheral you're using. I'm mainly using keyboard mouse to play this game. And there's some counter attacks that you can do while fighting the enemies as well. The staff also has the ability to fire projectiles. The projectiles are Stun Blast and Plasma Blast. Stun blasts are blue electrical projectiles that can be fired at your enemies to break shields or just simply to stun them. And plasma blasts are direct impact projectiles that can be fired at your enemies to actually give them damage. In combination, you can actually use the stun blast to break shields of enemies that are at a great distance, and then after that, fire your plasma blast to actually hit them and to take them out. And for a little added excitement, you can pull off some pretty ferocious finishing moves to clear out several enemies, just in case you're into that kind of thing. You can also engage with some of the turrets in the environment, and once you get close to them, take control of them and use them against the other enemies in the environment.
We're good.
I just need a few more seconds. I'm nearly there.
Hurry up!
There's also an energy hoverboard that Monkey uses called a cloud. Yep, you heard that correctly, a cloud.
What's that?
It's a cloud.
Doesn't look like a cloud. Well, maybe a little like a cloud.
And to be honest, it looks cool and it's actually one of the coolest ways to move around in the game. And he uses this cloud to navigate some of the bigger, more open environments. He also uses the cloud to chase after some of the big mechs that are running throughout some of the environments. At the same time, he uses this cloud for tactical reasons in fighting and beating some of the mechs in boss fights. Now, I really like the cloud glider. My only biggest problem with the cloud glider is that there aren't as many scenarios to use it in as I really wish there were. It's only in some of the bigger, more open areas and some of the boss areas, and that's really it. And it's a shame because it's the only device that allows you to free jump. All the other jumping that you do in the game is all context based. But I really loved the cloud, and every moment I had the chance to use it, it was fun and I absolutely enjoyed myself.
How does it work?
I don't know. All I know is it works some places and not in others.
It must be able to resonate with static EM fields of high enough concentration.
As I say, it works some places and not in others.
Yeah.
On your journey, you'll also find collectibles that'll help Monkey and Trip on their journey and fighting the battle mechs. You'll find health vials to actually refill your health, and trust me, you will need that throughout your adventure. You'll find blue canisters filled with stun blast ammunition to help out with your stun blast. You'll also find red canisters that will give you ammunition for your plasma blast. In addition, you'll also find these small red orbs sitting throughout the environment. Some of them you'll actually get by searching throughout the environments. Some of them you'll also get after defeating enemies. And if you defeat a whole lot of enemies, some of them will just fully magnetize to your body, which I really wish all of them would kind of do that, because some of them you have to go on a full-on scavenger hunt to look for. There are also these white glowing masks that you'll find throughout the environment, which once Monkey touches them, he'll have these crazy little flashing visions inside of his head. And obviously, he starts to question what the heck they really are.
What the hell?
Are you okay?
You didn't see him.
Monkey, there's nothing there.
I must be going crazy.
It could be because of your headband. It is effectively wired into your brain. Maybe it causes hallucinations.
Great. Great, this just gets better and better.
I'm sorry.
Now, when it comes to those red orbs that you collect in the environment, you can actually use them to upgrade your gear and stats with Trip.
Hey, wait up. I've got an idea. I think I can upgrade your equipment.
With the red orbs and Trip, you can do things like upgrade your shield for defense, upgrade your combat abilities when fighting the mechs, upgrade your staff when you really want to beat the living crap out of the mechs and you're getting tired of the mechs and you need better ways to do so, upgrade your health for vitality, and you will need plenty of vitality in this game. Now, there are a variety of different mechs that you'll actually meet along your way that you'll have to defeat. The first one is the normal mechs that have the claw-like hands that come after you, and they're fairly easy to beat. They do a little blocking, but they're pretty easy to beat. Then there are the more hulkier mechs that look like this, but they fire electrical energy at you, and you have to get up close to them and beat them down, and they're not that much harder either. Then, of course, you actually have the mechs that have the shields, in which case you have to break their shields and then move in and beat on them with that wonderful staff you have. Then, of course, there are mechs that actually have Gatling guns, which, once you get close enough to them, beat them down, take their Gatling gun, finish them off with it, and then use it against all of their friends. There are even mechs you have to beat in a timely manner, or they'll call for backup. There are also much bigger boss-sized mechs that you'll have to face in the game too. Like this big mech right here that's made up of a bunch of boulders, and it uses its boulders to throw them at you. However, after beating on it for a little while and smacking it around, it'll become enraged. Then you back up and try to antagonize it, causing it to smash into things and ultimately destroying itself. Then there are these types of big mechs that look like a cat or a dog. I don't know, it looks like a mix between both of them to me, but anyway, it has sharp claws and it's trying to kill you. But anyway, you gotta kind of shoot at them a few times to soften them up. These things will chase you around, and ultimately you have to stun them, beat them down, and then eventually finish them off by climbing onto their back and pulling them to pieces. There's also a big rhino-like mech you have to face too.
Watch out for the rhino.
The rhino? Shit, what the hell's that?
To defeat it, you have to fool it to crashing into some bombs that Pigsy throws into the environment. Then you have to fool it to breaking apart a few things in the environment, destroying itself even more. Then you have to climb the environment and eventually cause things to fall onto it. It's a whole lot of work, but you get it done. And these aren't the only boss mechs that you'll meet in the game. There are other big boss mechs that you'll meet, but you see them much later on in the game, and I'd rather not spoil it, so let's just keep moving on. There are so many different scenarios to be experienced when playing this game. Of course, there's all your normal climbing throughout the environments and seeing the whole place for what it is and battling the regular mechs on solid surfaces, but there's also other scenarios that you go through. There's a very large bridge that you have to come to where you have to cross it. And in order to cross it, you have to fight a whole bunch of mechs that constantly give you a whole lot of challenge. And even a car you have to follow across the bridge while Trip is the one driving the car.
Hey, I'm not in yet! Sorry! Get over to the right! The right!
There's a boat that you have to ride through a murky little dirty river, while also using the turret on the boat riding through the murky river and gunning down a whole bunch of battle mechs in the process.
Max, on the right! On the right! Max coming in on the left! That's it! Keep it up!
There's a dangerous crane that you have to cross that starts to fall apart while you're trying to cross it, and then you have to climb it almost Uncharted style. along with a race that you have to do with Pigsy.
Hey, so how about we make this more interesting?
Interesting.
You want to race to the top?
To get to the top of a bunch of junk, and he has his own cheap way of getting up there.
You won. How'd you do that?
You know, just for a second, I thought you had me.
I only lost on account of my bad arm.
All right.
The thing is, the gameplay offers so much variety that throughout this entire adventure, I never felt that there was a dull moment. Each scenario that I got into felt meaningful and felt purposeful to the pacing of the story and the overall adventure. Not all of it's perfect, and of course, some of the gameplay is a little clunky, but at the same time, I never felt that any moment was boring or pointless to the development of the characters or the story. Yup. Even Pigsy's little race on top of all that junk actually did something for showcasing his character.
Hey, how'd you do that?
It's for me to know, you find out.
Now, when it comes to the graphical presentation, look, let's just simply be honest. This is a PS3 and Xbox 360 game, so no, it doesn't live up to today's graphical standards when it comes to overall detail. That does not mean that this game looks bad. As a matter of fact, I was actually quite impressed with the graphics and overall art style of this game. When it comes to the small details in the environments or the animations of the characters, especially even in cutscenes. And yes, I'm more than aware the cutscenes aren't full in-game engine graphics, but it's actually very close, so it's not that far off. It just simply impressed me all around. Looking at the smaller details throughout the environments, seeing the artwork, seeing the amount of variation in color and the variety in the designs when it came to the different environments. To me, it just dazzled. And yes, although graphics have come quite a bit of a way since the Xbox 360 and PS3 days, I don't think that they've come so far that it makes this game look bad. It definitely helps to show this game's age, that's for sure, and I definitely won't lie about that. But even with that, if anything, I personally feel that this game has truly stood the test of time, at least when it comes to the visual presentation. And I think that this game has pretty much aged pretty well with time. So yeah, the graphics might not be perfect, but they darn sure more than do their job and impress, in my opinion. So for me, Enslaved Odyssey to the West is a pretty decent game. Of course, it has some mechanical flaws, and yes, when it comes to the character Trip, I wish she was a little less helpless, but still, I do like her character along with the other characters in the story. And it's not the best looking game as far as today's standards. It's also not bad looking either. But I really love this game all the way through, especially the characters. Now, more so, I'm more of a gameplay person, not as much of a story and character over gameplay. But I would have to say the story, character, graphics, and art direction here were actually good enough that it does kind of outdo some of the game's flaws. But that's just my take on Enslaved Odyssey to the West. Maybe you have an entirely different opinion of the game, and that's exactly what these review discussion videos are about. So let me know what you think. So if you did like this video, please hit that like button, please subscribe, hit the bell to be notified the next time I publish a video, and hit me up in the comment section and let me know what you think. Have you played this game before? Have you not played this game? Do you like this game? Do you not like this game? It's really great to hear your feedback and give your own opinion, just as much as I gave my own subjective opinion. So please give me some constructive feedback down in the comment section regarding how you see this game or even this video. At the same time, while you're here, check out my other videos. I do play a variety of different games, so I do make a variety of different gaming videos. And if you can, share this video on your socials. I'd very much appreciate it. But that's all for this video. Thank you very much for watching it. And as always, until next time, this is Mong004, and I am out. Take care.